Hi, everyone. Michelle Gramolia, the President and CEO of Woodland Pond here. Today is Tuesday, December 15th, 2020, and I hope that you are all well. The intent of my update today is to cover an update on where we are in terms of cases on campus, and as well, really today to focus on the impending winter storm that we're expecting tomorrow night into Thursday. As always, this address will be recorded and available for rewatching on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions at all about how to access content on YouTube, you can certainly call the concierge. I know that many residents now, even more so over the last several weeks, have really gotten a lot more limber with their use of their computer and internet, and as well smart devices. All of those things can easily put our YouTube channel and its content right into your hands. And if you have not explored our YouTube channel yet, it's essentially a repository of all video content that we have recorded and posted really over the last 10 months or so. I don't think there's much there that's older than that. But it includes things like all of Kim's recorded classes. It's got all of my addresses, a number of Deborah's yoga classes, the interviews that I conducted in June related to civil justice issues. There are a bunch of videos there. So if you haven't figured out or been interested yet in how to access content on our YouTube channel, please contact the concierge and they can walk you through that. So first and foremost, I just wanted to provide a quick update as to where we are with cases on campus. I think the last time I did an address, we had 7 or 8 active cases on campus across staff and residents in different areas. Currently, we have 5 cases out of 561 total folks on campus, and that is a positivity rate by head count of less than 1%. We are trending far more favorably, knock on wood, than our region as a whole. The rates obviously have gone up significantly, so to be below 1% leaves us all feeling like today is a good day. We are not relinquishing any of our commitment to keeping COVID off campus, and we are doubling down on the messages of our staff needing to just be at home when they're not at work, and being very safe in their activity off campus. Same thing for the residents, of course, and the loved ones of our residents. We just keep hearing consistently more and more from the folks that are really monitoring this, that right now the highest risk of transmission is in living rooms. You know, folks sitting around and getting together with a small group of people that may be deemed to be low risk, but that is where the transmission is happening. So I think as this pandemic has progressed, we have learned different things, and we are in a phase now where because so much public activity has been reduced or eliminated, where that transmission is happening is in our living room. So we just all need to be attentive to that. And I think that's the mindset that we're all kind of using to kind of go through things at this point in time. I plan to, for the next several weeks, do a daily update at noon on Tuesdays and Fridays. So this is the Tuesday session, and then I'll do another on Friday. I do have a memo prepared today, which I'm going to read from, related to the numbers that I just reported, but also storm prep. And you will see reference in the memo to the fact that on Friday, the bulk of my update will be related to vaccines on campus. This is a very exciting topic. Each day we're getting a little bit more information about what the vaccination process will be here on campus. As with all things Woodland Pond, there will be a slightly different process for each part of the campus. So there will be one process for skilled nursing, a second for assisted living and garden view, and a third for independent living. But we are working closely with the Department of Health in New York, working strictly from CDC guidelines. We're tapped right into that direct information myself, our licensed nursing home administrator, Philip Mail, and our director of nursing, Carrie Mosley, have participated in daily webinars and calls since Sunday with the CDC to understand the latest on the vaccinations. And we're very excited that by Friday, we should have some very good information to share with all of our residents and our stakeholders. So that's my intended topic for Friday's update. So I think I'll just go right into storm prep. And I think that it's best if I just read this memo off. I'm hoping it's not blocking the camera, because I think it goes into a good amount of detail. We have a number of new residents here on campus, and it's been, you know, almost a year since we've had a storm. So it's a great time to remind everyone what happens on campus when we have a winter storm. So I'm going to read the memo, and you can look forward to having a copy of this come to you either via email or hard copy, whichever you've selected. That will be issued shortly today. So the topic is called Storm Preparedness at Woodland Pond. Woodland Pond has a multi-departmental emergency response team referred to as our Code Delta team. When an emergent issue arises, or when we have advanced knowledge of an impending matter of concern, our Code Delta team meets. Oftentimes, circumstances require multiple meetings of our Code Delta team as situations evolve. Our Code Delta team held a general winter weather preparedness meeting on Monday, December 7th. At that meeting, reports were given on generator readiness, the readiness of our emergency supply kits, stockpiles of personal protective equipment and COVID testing supplies, both rapid and PCR tests, emergency food and water supplies, snow removal equipment mobilization, and provisions for staff planning to stay over, given our current COVID protocols. As a side note, all of the items covered in that initial meeting were deemed to be, we are storm ready. Our generator, for example, has an annual, they call it a full load test, so it goes on for as if all emergency power needed to be activated at one time, and that goes on for a number of hours, as well as there's a physical inspection of the generator that happens annually. That just happened, and Tom was able to report that we've got, you know, sufficient fuel in the generator, and each of the items that were covered, each department was able to report that we are ready to roll. The memo goes on to say, our Code Delta team met today, which is December 15th, Tuesday, at 11 a.m. to discuss the specific impending storm. So for those that have not seen yet, we are expecting our first bout of winter weather tomorrow night, Wednesday, going into Thursday during the day. It appears that our part of the Hudson Valley will not get the worst of this. It looks like the most snow accumulation will happen south of Route 84. But we are going to prepare as if this could be a big snowmaker. And that's how we're going to be looking at it. I think estimates probably put us in the 6 to 8 inch range. And at this point, it looks like that's primarily going to be snow, although there's always a possibility of ice, sleet, the freezing rain, those kinds of things. So of import, the following were discussed at today's Code Delta meeting. First, the need to remind all residents in independent living of the following. Independent living apartments and cottages are not on emergency power. IL residents must contact the concierge as soon as possible to inform the concierge if they rely on electrical power for oxygen, a CPAP or BiPAP machine, or any other life-saving electrical device. So this is very important. If you are an independent living resident and you rely on any piece of electrical equipment for life-saving means or measures, please contact the concierge and make sure that you have been identified as someone that needs electrical power. This is to ensure that if we do have a power outage, we are able to respond and ensure that you have access to what you need. Independent living elevators are not on emergency power. Independent living residents should locate a source of emergency light and working batteries, and you should do that today. The storm starts tomorrow. We have ample notice. We strongly recommend that at some point today, all independent living residents look around their cottage or apartment and locate one or more flashlights, lanterns, etc., and working batteries for that device. You should put that someplace that's easily accessible and that you're going to remember where it is, or put them in a number of places in your home so that if the power does go out, you can find those easily. Many residents purchased LED lanterns from Woodland Pond last year in the winter. So if you purchase one of those little lanterns, we had recommended last year that you store them underneath your kitchen cabinet. If you cannot remember where you put it or you cannot find it, check under your kitchen cabinet. It may be there. And just pull it open to make sure that it's in working order. No candles at all are permitted. All residents should also ensure today, going into tomorrow, that your cell phones are completely charged. This ensures that you're prepared in the event that there's a phone outage. It's never a guarantee that cell service will also be in effect, but having a charged phone is extremely important. So please charge your phone, and of course consider charging any laptop or handheld device. In the event of a power outage, you should turn your cell phone on so that our emergency alerts can be sent to resident cell phones. So if the power does go out, you should turn your cell phone on, and your phone will receive our emergency alerts, and I'll cover that in just a second. The next thing that the Code Delta team discussed today was that we need to remind all residents that all cars on campus need to be moved by the end of the day Tuesday into the approved snow parking plan. So if you are an independent living resident, and of course staff members, and you have a vehicle on campus, we need those vehicles moved in accordance with the snow plan by the end of the day today. If you are unable or unwilling to move your vehicle today, please contact concierge sooner than later and ask them to put in a work order, and our staff will start and move your car for you. There is no parking at all permitted on the roadways with the exception of in marked parking spots. So if you are someone that generally parks on a roadway, you must move your vehicle. All vehicles must be moved in accordance with the snow plan by the end of the day today, which is Tuesday. Just a few other things the Code Delta team wanted to remind residents of independent living of, and most of you should be aware of this at this point. The pool and fitness room will be closed completely on Thursday, and calendar activities will be modified. The mailroom will be also closed, and packages will not be delivered on Thursday by our staff. Groceries and meals will be delivered on Thursday by our staff, and Dedrick's will be closed on Thursday. And the reason for those closures and modifications is because all of those things right now require staffing time because we are checking everyone in and monitoring everyone for pre-activity screening. And so to the extent that we can ensure that our staff does not have to travel in for such things, we are canceling them for Thursday just out of an abundance of caution. The Code Delta team then also discussed the importance of ensuring that all residents and loved ones know that we spend a substantial amount of time in advance of any storm ensuring that we have sufficient overnight accommodations for any staff member in need. We have always offered overnight accommodations to our staff to ensure their safety while also being able to complete their assigned shifts. So many of you realize, of course, that Woodland Pond is a 24-hour operation. And we have most of our staff is shift-based, and our shifts generally start at either 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. Some start at 3 p.m. and some start at 11 p.m. But each of those shifts needs to make sure that it has staff here on site, because that includes things like bedside care for residents, nursing staff, dietary staff, providing meals to residents around the clock, particularly in the health center, and security staff. So we need to make sure that all of those staff can safely, arrive at work and then be ready to start their shifts. So we've always had the ability to provide overnight accommodations to our staff that are interested in participating in that, or in the event of an emergency, find themselves in a pickle and need those accommodations. So this is one of the largest parts of the planning that we do in advance of any type of an event like this, because obviously Woodland Pond is its people, it's our residents, and it's our staff. So we need to make sure that as much as we can support the staff so that they can safely come into work and then provide the care that's needed for our residents. This year, the plans for overnight stays had to be modified to ensure that there's no crossing over of staff between units and no doubling up of staff in the same overnight room. So what we typically have done is we've identified units available on campus where we can put down accommodations or provide accommodations to staff. And it's been a little bit more fluid in past years because we haven't had such a restriction in terms of units and trying not to trying to keep everything completely segregated and separated to ensure as little virus transmission as possible. This year it's different because we are not crossing over staff unless it's absolutely critical. So this year for overnight accommodations, we had to identify, how many available units might we have in Garden View to provide staffing accommodation in. How many might we have in assisted living and skilled nursing and independent living and so forth. And the expectation by the folks that will be assigning the overnight accommodations this year is that there shall not be any crossover. So if you're working Garden View, you're needing to stay on Garden View. We do have some overflow capability in independent living. And if there is a need for that overflow capability, any staff member from the health center that needs to stay in independent living will actually only be permitted in an apartment that has direct to outdoor access, and those staff will be escorted directly through the outdoors, the porch door basically, into that apartment. They will not come through the building at all, and they will not leave that apartment. So this allows us to safely put our staff up, but keep the transmission risk absolutely as low as possible. So that is a new twist on things for the overnight stays this year. The next thing that the Code Delta team discussed today was reminding residents and loved ones throughout the campus of the availability of the emergency alert systems we have on campus. So, of course, in addition to airing things like this on channel 1340 or on YouTube, and as well, I have an email listserv that goes out. There are some emergency-based alert systems, and we just wanted to remind all of the residents of these systems with just a few reminders. So the first is our SARA emergency alert system, and this is a system that makes a combination of phone calls to landlines, phone calls to cell phones, sends text messages to cell phones, and sends emails. So it's a four-way communication system. This can get out emergency alerts generated by either a concierge or reception staff person or a handful of others of us that can do this remotely from home. And this alert from the SARA system will go to any of the devices that you have registered with us. All resident phone numbers for landlines that we have are loaded into the SARA alert system. If you are unsure if we have your cell phone loaded in or your email address, please call concierge and ask them to make sure that you are added into the SARA system. Particularly of interest is your cell phone at this point, because we are indicating that if we do have a power outage, the cell phone is your most likely chance of getting an emergency alert. The next alert system that we have in place is the channel 1340 alert system, and these also air on the Connected Living app and our digital signs. So again, this is an immediate system where a number of us can type in a message, and this will be broadcast to any of the Connected Living based systems, including Channel 1340, the Connected Living app, and the digital sign. So that's a more of a visual notification, but that's available at our fingertips as well. And the final thing that the Code Delta team discussed today as relates to emergency preparedness is just a general reminder for all residents, particularly those that may be new to campus, that anytime you hear a fire alarm activate on campus, you are to stay put and shelter in place. If you are in imminent danger, which means seeing or smelling smoke, flames, or smelling a chemical smell, or if you see a flood water or a leak, you should, in those cases, you should seek a safe location. Otherwise, you should shelter in place. When sheltering in place, you should turn on Channel 1340 to look for an emergency alert and wait for a contact from the SARA system, again, to your landline phone, your cell phone, a text message, and or your email, and those alerts will come through as well. Just to touch on this very briefly, the reason for the sheltering in place, this was something that's been instructed by the local fire chief here in New Paltz. All of our building is constructed in a manner that is sprinkled, first of all. It's a fully sprinklered building, and each unit is designed up to the highest building code to ensure fire safety and suppression and mitigation of any spread of fire or I guess smoke. Flooding is a little bit different, but the units are designed to be keep you safe from fire up to a certain point of time and depending on the situation. The challenge with folks trying to evacuate is that when on their own, I should say, evacuate on their own, is that if and when fire personnel have to come into the building to address a situation, they cannot have residents flooding the corridors, and most particularly the stairwells. The fire chief wants everything to be as clear as possible for his staff to be able to come in very quickly and address whatever situation that we have on campus. Knock on wood, this has not been an issue on campus except for very minor cases in the past. But it is just a reminder that if you do hear that fire alarm, we want you to stay put. If you're in a community space, you should try to find a safe place to shelter or stay put. You can ask one of our staff members. When a fire alarm goes off, our staff members deploy to the common areas to provide instruction to all residents. If you have any questions on that process at all, please contact the concierge and they can provide you with further instruction on that. So that being said, I'm going to be in my office all day today. You can get me at extension 5501 if you have any questions or issues. If you have a family member that has not been added to my email distribution list, please get their email addresses and send those over to me, or call me or concierge, and we will add your loved ones to that list. We're just doing as much continual communication as we can. We want to keep everyone in the loop as we continue to go through all of this together. Thanks.